Hi, I'm Jake. I've been drawing Pokemon since I was 7 years old. Today's video is probably my biggest video to date, where I'll be drawing 31 Fakemon for the month of October as part of the Faketober challenge. So because it's going to be a long video, let's get straight into it. Day 1's prompt was sweet, so I wanted to make a honey bear Fakemon, but I wanted to make it a little bit different, so I made it entirely out of honey, and also gave it those candy corn claws. I imagine that this Fakemon would hunt down combies and stuff, but not to eat them, but to steal their honey and amalgamate it into its liquid body. Day 2's prompt was combo, which made me think of combos in like fighting games, which is why Ryu is there. But it also made me think of those fighting robots, you know, the red and blue ones on the left hand side there. When I was drawing the design, it gave me Bionicle vibes as well, which I thought linked to the combo theme, like you combine Lego pieces into a robot. So I made this fighting steel combination robot guy. Made this one red, but I can imagine it shiny being blue to reference the fighting robots that it's inspired by. For day 3, the prompt was virus, and initially I went down the actual virus route, but I felt that might be a bit too on the nose, so I went with a computer virus, specifically one that's infected a Rotom phone. I wanted to give it a pixelated look, but I wasn't quite sure how this would translate in my art style. But with the help of a drawing assist on the canvas, I think I actually pulled it off. And finally, for the colour scheme, I used that screen that appears when TVs break. Not sure what it's called, but I thought it really fit the design. Day 4's prompt was elegant, and I'm not quite sure that I hit the brief on this one. For a while I've been wanting to make a Fakemon based on a Fabergé egg, which is these like eggs covered in jewels. They're meant to be super fancy and expensive, so I thought that fit the idea of an elegant Fakemon, but then I wanted to make it look actually very ugly because I don't think that these eggs look nice in real life. I could see this Pokemon being really rare, and I imagine it being a fairy or a steel or even an ice type. Day 5, the prompt was wings, so I started googling birds with interesting wings and came across this bird of paradise, I was going to say Pokemon, it's a real life animal. I made the blue markings on its wings look like a scary face to scare off its predators. The prompt for day 6 was cyberpunk, and given I was making this around the same time that I made my paradox forms for my other video, it gave me the confidence to try it again. Since toxtricity already existed, I thought it was the perfect base for the cyberpunk theme. It took me a while to get the pose right, but in the end I was really happy with it. I replaced the guitar strings on its chest with like a synthesizer or a keytar, just to tie into that cyber theme. This is like one of the only Fakemon from this video that I've come up with a name for, but this would be Iron Punk, and I imagine it being a steel and electric type. Really sorry about this guys, but for the next 2 Fakemon I forgot to hit record on Procreate. So day 7's theme was bottle, and I decided to make little terrarium guys. I imagine you'd find them in loads of different shapes and sizes, and with a different small Pokemon inside each time. I have to admit, I'm not too happy with how the actual Fakemon came out. I think in the future I would try and make the opening to the glass almost like its mouth, like it swallowed the little Pokemon. Day 8's prompt was melody, and I was really stumped with this one. I spent ages googling animals that make melodies and eventually settled on a whale. I tried to tie in like composer elements, tried to make its mouth look like a suit jacket and its narwhal horn look like a composer's baton. I imagine that those barnacles on its side actually emit like sound waves for it to attack. Definitely found day 8 probably one of the hardest challenges, and maybe that's because I've been drawing Fakemon for a week straight. But I was gutted when I found out that the recording process didn't record in Procreate, because I was really happy with the design process that I went through to finalise the design. Day 9, I remembered to click record. Day 9's prompt was explosion, and I wanted to make an explosion of colour, which made me think of fireworks. I wanted to make this Fakemon a fun but mischievous little character, so I tied in themes of Guy Fawkes. I'm not sure if those who aren't from England will have heard of him, but maybe you have. Anyway, that's why I gave him that signature hat and beard and moustache. I wouldn't let this drawing fool you. I imagine him being actually like a tiny little spark that's running around your feet, but maybe he could grow big like a huge firework too. For day 10, the prompt was mimic, and I wanted to make a regional variant for Ditto that was a ground type, and based on clay or plasticine or Play-Doh. The inspiration for this design came from those bootleg knockoff Pokemon toys where all the colours are all janky and messed up and they really do not look like the Pokemon that they're meant to be based on. I'm not sure how this regional form would vary from a standard Ditto in terms of its moves or abilities or anything. Maybe it would just get a standard moveset for the Pokemon it was copying. Absolutely no idea why day 11's drawing started halfway through, but here we are. The prompt for day 11 was tiny, and I was actually drawing this whilst my baby son was sat on my lap, and his chunky fat rolls inspired me to make this little tardigrade baby. Moving on to day 12 is probably one of my favourite designs. The prompt was extinction, and it got me thinking about what could have destroyed the dinosaurs. So there's always those theories about the meteor hitting the sky. Hitting the sky? Hitting the ground. Or was it some massive volcanic eruption? Or was it just the ash cloud that blocked out the sun? So I wanted to combine all of those ideas into one super destructive, almost world-ending Fakemon. I imagine it being the final boss of a game, almost like a legendary Pokemon, that throughout the game you're trying to stop it coming down from space and actually making contact with Earth and destroying all life as we know it. So you, as a little 11-year-old with your Pokemon, is going to stop that. Or this could be the Pokemon that landed on Earth and caused all the prehistoric Pokemon to go extinct and creating the fossil Pokemon that we know and love today. This prompt really got my brain thinking, and it's actually a concept that I'd quite like to explore again in the future, maybe in a future video. Now for day 13, and at this point in the challenge my brain was probably numb with all the thinking of Fakemon ideas, but the prompt was demon, and I wanted to do a Beelzebub, which is like a Lord of the Flies when I googled it. That was the first design, and I wasn't quite happy with it, so I did my silhouette method again to try and figure out what I wanted. This is probably one of the designs that I'm least happy with, but I actually think that that's the point of this challenge, is that you're meant to be designing Fakemon every single day. They're not meant to be perfect, it's just to generate ideas and to improve your art skills. Speaking of generated ideas, day 14 and 15's prompt were Counterpart 1 and Counterpart 2. And it was the perfect excuse to try off something that I'd been thinking about for a while. I had the idea for box art legendaries based on chaos and order and breaking bonds and forming bonds, but it didn't quite fit into the Greek-inspired region, so I guess this was just my excuse to draw them. On the right hand side of the screen is the chaos or break legendary based on fission, so splitting of atoms. Its form would constantly be shifting. You can see there that I tried to put like a core in the middle of its chest where the power emanates from, and it would just burst with chaotic, uncontrollable energy. In contrast, on the left hand side is the order or bonded legendary. The idea behind it is fusion, so fusing bonds together, organising into structures that make its energy flow better. So it's still as powerful as the chaos legendary, but its energy within it is flowing more organised. It doesn't sound as good as the other, but I really like the idea. In terms of game titles, I could imagine it being Pokemon Chaos and Order, Pokemon Bond and Break, or even Pokemon Fusion and Fission. The idea I had was that the game could be based on scientific principles if we're going down the Fusion and Fission route, but it's an idea that I might explore in the future, so let me know if you're interested in that. I imagine the Break or Chaos Legendary to be a Fire and Electric type because they're very energetic types, and I could see its ability being something that when it switches into battle, it lowers a random stat of the opponent because it's all about emitting chaos energy, whereas the Order or Bond Legendary would be an Ice and Steel type because they're quite solid types, if that makes sense, and its ability would be something that affects only itself in battle, something that maybe raises one specific stat that would help it in that particular battle. As you might be able to tell, I really like these two, so we might be coming back to them in a future prompt. You'll have to wait and see. The prompt for day 16 was dream, and I wanted to mix in the themes of an actual dream when you're asleep with the idea of aspirations, so a dream of what you want to become in the future. I imagine that this Fakemon is constantly asleep and that its dreams actually fight for it. So you can see that I gave it a physical form, a special form, and then a support form for when it uses moves like protect or safeguard, for example. I tried to make these dream forms look like professions or roles that it would want to fulfill in the future. So we had like a fighter or an athlete, a painter, and then like a nurse kind of looking thing. Then I threw in some sun, moon and stars motifs to link it to that baby grow that it looks like it's wearing. Day 17's prompt was cold, so I was thinking about the actual ice type, but also like colds and flus, probably because ironically I feel like that at the minute anyway. So I made this ice type variant of Nosepass. Originally I was going to make it look like the North Pole, but then I didn't quite like that odd circle thing on top of its head. So I just made it an icy mountain with icicles coming out of its nose. I think it would just be a pure ice type at the minute, and I actually think I might try and include it in the Greek region. I've got an idea for its evolution. Day 18 of the challenge is probably when the fatigue started hitting, and definitely the art block. The prompt was summon, and I couldn't really think of anything, so I just went with like summoning your servants, as if you were some like Victorian lord that ruled the manor and you just rang the bell on the end of your tail to summon all your little minions. So this Fakemon would be the second stage, and ringing its bell would summon all the first stage evolutions to come and fight for it. I see it being a dark type. Day 19 was hobby, and I don't really have many hobbies other than drawing, I guess, but we already have Smeargle, so I know that some people like to do like knitting and crochet and stuff, so that was what inspired this Fakemon. My friend actually knitted my son a big blue dinosaur, so that was the inspiration behind this Fakemon, but I wanted it to look like it was existing in the Pokemon world, so I made it the substitute doll, almost like an evolution of that. I think this Fakemon would be a dragon and a normal or fairy type. It's definitely one of the favourite designs I've made in this challenge. And in contrast to that, one of my least favourite designs was Day 20, where the prompt was sound, and I think it was the art block, but all I could think of was like a big cave with an echoing sound coming out of its mouth. Like I said, because of that fatigue and art block, I just decided to go with whatever my pen put on the paper for these designs. And for Day 21, the theme was alien. So I just wanted to make like this rabbit-like creature, kind of harking to the moon rabbit myth. I tried hard to convey movement in its design with that flowing tail and its pose, because I imagined that this guy would hop between planet to planet. Sticking with the idea of just drawing whatever comes to my mind first, Day 22's prompt was Fairy Core, and I just drew a fairy circle gnome trio of Pokemon. Day 23's prompt was flat, so I googled flatworm and saw that these crazy creatures had amazing colours, which made me think of the magic carpet from Aladdin for some reason. So I just combined those two ideas into this Fakemon. I actually really like this guy, considering it's quite simple really. Spikes was the prompt for Day 24, and through my research for the Pika clone video, I came across the Cretan spiny mouse, which is a rodent with spiny black hairs coming out of it. So I'm not going to use this in the Greek inspired region, but it was just the basis for this Fakemon design. It's definitely going to be a rock type. For Day 25 the prompt was mysterious, so I just drew some ambiguous shadow creature. No airs or pretenses about it. This is not my best design, but my brain was mush at this point. Day 26 the prompt was energy, and maybe I cheated a little bit on this prompt, but I wanted to use the opportunity to make a gimmick for the two legendary Pokemon that I'd designed earlier in this video. These would be called energized forms, and they'd either be overflowing with chaos energy, or their existing energy would be organised into a much more optimal form, honing its existing powers. I see energized forms being a bit more like Terra and Dynamax, where it's a temporary boost to their stats, but any Pokemon can undergo it. It doesn't need to be the final evolution, like Mega Evolution for example. So yeah, really keen to get your feedback on this, because I find making gimmicks very hard. Day 27's prompt was Warrior. I wanted to combine the female warriors of Valkyries and Amazons into one Fakemon line. I have made a Valkyrie Fakemon before in the past, so I guess I did kind of cheat and reuse that idea, but I mixed in the theme of Amazon as well. I might explore this concept again in the future, because Amazons were present in Greek mythology. Eclipse was the prompt for Day 28. which obviously made me think of solrock and lunatone. I decided that I wanted to make a mega revolution, but wanted to make it quite ambiguous in that you wouldn't know if it was for lunatone or for solrock. In fact, I imagined that the mega evolution for both would look the same. It would keep its rock and psychic typing, but gain some kind of ability that would boost ice and fire type moves. We're getting close to the end now, with day 29 being plant. I made a kind of Vileplume variant, or maybe a split evolution for Gloom, that would blast beams of solar charged energy out of the top of its flower. I made it look like a cannon, or at least tried to. Day 30 was Reflection, which is quite a fitting end to the challenge. I knew a lot of people would probably make like mirror Fakemon, so I wanted to go a different route. I took Reflection as in like reflecting on yourself and your journey that you've been through, but also added that liquid pond as a physical reflection in pond water. So I made it look like a Kappa, a psychic water type, that would fit both of those themes. I guess now is a perfect time to reflect on this challenge. I'm not gonna lie, it was very hard to keep myself motivated to draw every day, but it also motivated me to draw every day and challenged my drawing process in that maybe I didn't need to over-design every design and that the first thing I put on paper was good enough. So day 31 was a free prompt, as in you could pick whatever you wanted. So I picked the word Greece to make another Fakemon for the Greek-inspired region. Because it was October 31st, I wanted to keep the spooky theme going. This Fakemon was based on horseshoe bats and Vrykolakus, which is like a vampire from Greek folklore, not mythology. Vrykolakus are like vampires, but also kind of a mix of zombies and werewolves. They come out at night and scare people and usually eat their livers. Obviously that's a bit dark for a Pokemon game, so I made it scare people to suck out their soul. So this is Vrykbat, the soul sucker Pokemon. They come out at night to scare unsuspecting people. Those spooked by Vrykbat have a little part of their soul drained. This links to its new ability Soul Drain, which gives biting moves the additional ability to heal 1/16 of Vrykbat's health every attack. For its shiny, I just made it look really pale to link to that ghost typing. So thank you all so much for watching. I know this has been a long video and it's probably been my biggest challenge to date. I'm not going to promise any video for next week because honestly I don't know if I'll be able to. We're in the middle of moving house at the moment, so as you can imagine it's a very stressful time. But I promise you the next video that you see will be the starter evolutions for the Greek-inspired region. So if you got this far, thank you for watching and don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!